All right, let's watch Understanding Marxism by PragerU.
Why does anyone still care about Marxism? Karl Marx has been dead for well over a century.
Hell yeah.
Everywhere Marxism has been tried, it has left death and destruction in its wake.
So right. Unlike capitalism, which is no deaths. Never forget, if famine, food shortages happen under a communist organization, that is because of communism's failure. But of course, if people, like the 14 million people that die every year as a consequence of famine, when capitalism has created a surplus of food, an abundance of food, those people are dying because they don't have their bootstraps, okay? That's it. Remember, communism, responsible for any death and all deaths. Capitalism, responsible for no deaths. I've made the greatest argument of all time. There you go. You can't deny it. That's the best argument, dude. Guy has the X-Pants hair. Yeah, this is the least reliable narrator, okay?
Last 1,000 years comes close to the amount of tyranny, terror, and mass murder brought about by Marxist regimes. Yet Marxism lives. It may present itself today as postmodernism, multiculturalism, feminism, environmentalism, or critical race theory, but it's still Marxism. So, there must be good reasons why it has endured, even flourished in the face of unremitting failure. Say what you will about Marx the economist, he was a master psychologist. He recognized that there are many people in every society who are motivated by envy and resentment. Marx speaks directly to them. He tells them that their responsibility for the misery in their lives belongs to the capitalist system.
Dude, this stuff is awesome because, like, no one has read any of Marx's work. So you could just, like, say whatever you want about Karl Marx, and people would just be like, yeah, that's probably true. Yeah, no, this guy just fucking owned the entire school of thought. He owned all the work that came before by saying Marxism is about jealousy. And the more jealous you are, the more Marxist you are. That's great, dude. That's fucking awesome. No, like, relations with the means of production and how societies are designed around commodity production. No fucking historical materialism. None of that. It's just Marxism, envy. And the more envious you bitches are, the more Marxist you get, motherfucker. Which is, by the way, the saddest thing because, like, unironically, some people do operate like that on the internet. It's a bad look. I'm just saying. Jealousy's a disease, love. Get better soon, yeah?
Marxism assures us that this socialist utopia is close at hand, available to all, not in some distant future or in the next life, but here and now. All we have to do is overcome one little obstacle: human nature.
Quite literally, it is the exact opposite. The understanding is that the contradictions inherent to capitalist society, which Marx was very much a fan of, he was a capitalism stan, I guess. I mean, he wrote a fucking whole book about it. He definitely wrote a lot about capitalism. The idea is that the inherent contradictions between the two classes will inevitably have to resolve itself, and that socialism will be the next evolutionary stage of mankind rather than fucking human nature. As a matter of fact, there are plenty of fucking takes against the idea that greed is a part of human nature. That the only reason why we think greed is a part of human nature is because we are living in a capitalist organization of the economy. That greed being a part of human nature under capitalism is like thinking that the black lung is a part of human nature because you work in the fucking coal mines, okay? That's kind of the point, that it's not about greed and human nature at all. Greed not being a part of human nature. Holy fuck. Why? How do they do this? Like, it's just, I mean, I guess this guy's a college professor, chat. He's a college professor.
Marx expressed his deepest views on this subject in his economic and philosophical manuscripts of 1844. They can be summed up in one phrase.
Oh, dude, let's go.
The enemy of being is having. In other words, the desire to own things makes you a bad person.
That's what? Oh, it's so good. It's so good. Greed is bred from inequality. Inequality is man-made. Brother, you never had a dipshit college professor? No, it's just like funny that this dude is literally... No, PragerU is not a real university, but he actually teaches at Clemson, which is, as far as I know, a real university, okay? He's a professor of political science at Clemson University. This guy who's just like making shit up.
However,
Make Shit Up University is doing this. By the way, dude, this is how much reactionary politics has staying power, dude. This is literally no different than like people on Twitter, dude. Leftists on Twitter believe this. That's the worst part. That's what fucking kills me. Like, leftists on Twitter unironically are just like, yeah, dude, that's true. You are a bad person for owning things, and fuck you, actually. Like, that's it. That's how much it kills me when I see fucking leftist people like repeating ridiculous right-wing reactionary framing that they've taken on from the left.
The blame belongs to capitalism. The most common interpretation of Marx's philosophy suggests that he opposed capitalism because it creates an unjust world of inequality, exploitation, and class conflict.
Wait, he's just gonna move on from that as like a wait, hold on. Wait, he just left. Okay, that part was correct. Why is he just left that there and just moved on? Is he gonna say like that's a bad thing? Like why that attitude is wrong or something?
Because it creates an unjust world of inequality, exploitation, and class conflict. Marxism, according to this view, is all about equalizing income and social status. This is true.
No, it's not! What are you saying? What the fuck? Dude, what? Yeah, Marxism is about having a flat fee. Everyone needs to get paid equally. Did I misunderstand what he's saying?
Marxism, according to this view, is all about equalizing income and social status. This is true, but it doesn't go far enough. Marx saw the accumulation of material wealth as dehumanizing. The more money and material possessions one acquires, the more estranged one is from his true humanity. In the philosopher's Socialist Paradise, one gets to eat, drink, and go to the theater free of charge and without having to earn a living. Best of all, you get to do it without the guilt of being a moocher. All you have to do is enjoy yourself. Or, as Marx put it, you can do one thing today and another tomorrow. Hunt in the morning, fish in the afternoon.
I mean, this is correct. He did say this, except this is about having additional fucking free time for self-fulfilling activities as a consequence of like your control over your own fucking labor and the control over the means of production. Because as it stands currently, when you look at productivity increasing as a consequence of technological achievements in a way that even Marx could not have fucking foreseen, you still see wages remaining stagnant and you still see the same fucking 8-hour workday and 5-day work week, okay? Regardless of the fact that technological achievements should have opened up a lot of free space and a lot of free time for individuals. But it didn't. You want to know why? It only improved productivity of the fucking average worker. And that made it so that you could fit more work actually into the fucking 8 hours a day that you're working and the 5 days a week that you're working. Because we have no control over our own destiny. We have no control over our own societal organization. We have no control over any of that when we have no fucking power as workers, okay? So, because of that, every time there's technological achievements that occur, it's used basically against you.
And rear cattle in the evening. Yes, rear cattle in the evening. That's how in touch Marx was with reality. But who cleans out the sewers? Does the dirty jobs that keep a society functioning? Ironically, in the evil capitalist society, the sewer cleaner freely chooses to take on his job.
Wait, who takes on the fucking sewer cleaning job in a capitalist society? They freely choose it? No, they don't. They fucking don't. That is such a lie, dude. I like that when he's talking about like capitalism, it's like, oh yeah, he freely chose to do this, right? He freely chose to do this. Like this was his own desire. Like, no, this is not his own fucking desire. He is brought into the system where subjugation is a necessity, and basically he has to work for subsistence for the rest of his fucking life, and that every other facet of his existence is expensive as fuck. So he has to take on whatever job he can because the only incentivization structure is revolves around not starving and dying.
Ironically, in the evil capitalist society, the sewer cleaner freely chooses to take on his job. In the Socialist Paradise, coercion is almost always required.
No, he literally is saying under capitalism, like they freely chose it, but there has to be coercion. No, dog, the coercion in that circumstance would be like any single person in any single job that they have more of an ownership over what they're doing. More of an ownership over what they're doing. They choose their hours better. They have the capacity to democratically assign however many hours they're going to be fucking working in these jobs. They get better pay as a consequence of that because these are jobs that normally would be way more expensive to fucking complete in a situation where like no one would choose to do it. It's exactly the opposite. It's coercion. Obviously, someone has to clean the toilets is like one of the main fucking problems, right? and numerous people have come up with different solutions for it. But ultimately, what I always say is that no matter which way you do it, having more ownership over your own fucking workplace, having more ownership over having ownership over your means of production will allow you to want to do that, because it's positive incentivization, recognizing that you are valuable, and without you, the fucking cogs don't turn. Okay, and doing it because it's something that someone has to do, and getting fairly compensated for it is precisely the way to do it. People owning cleaning businesses would not go away with communism. The labor would just be owned by those who cleaned. Yeah, it's just like, it's a very strange attitude to have. Like, I mean, think about like pool cleaners and shit. You know what I mean? They all fucking unironically operate as like self-owner. Like they all have their own fucking businesses. You know what I mean? Like one guy usually doing it. You can do that.
Turn out to be megalomaniacs like Lenin, Stalin, Mao, Castro, Pol Pot, and Hugo Chavez. They were the ones who brought Marx to life and in the process caused tens of millions to suffer and die.
Dude, liberals have no fucking analysis skill, dude. They just don't have any like bone in them. It renders them useless when you need to like talk about material realities. Like they just have to be like, no, it's because they were narcissists, dude. Like, it always has to be some, like, weird, intangible, idealistic thing. Like, some spiritual problem. Okay, you can stop justifying the millions of deaths now. I'm not. 14 million people die of famine when we literally have an abundance of food on this planet right now. 14 million people die of famine-related diseases and famine. This is before we even talk about imperialism. This is before we talk about the many other reasons, the many other ways that people are fucking murdered, pretty much, under capitalism. And you turn around and you go, you can stop justifying the millions of deaths now. I'm poking, bro. Good one, dude.
Contrary to Marx's claims, work freely chosen brings both money and dignity.
No one is freely working under a capitalist organization of the economy. That's not true. A budget shortfall is built into your existence. In America, this is doubly true. Ultimately, you only work because if you don't work, not have money to put clothes on your back, to put food on your table, and a roof over your head. That fear, the fear of the structural violence of poverty, is what keeps you going.
To him, self-interest turns everyone into Ebenezer Scrooge, greedy, grasping, and unfeeling. Not only is money, that is capital, inherently corrupting, but the acquisition of it can't be done honestly or fairly. The rich got rich by exploiting the worker.
Yes, that's true. All of this is true. That's literally how that works. That is how this works. Under a capitalist organization of the economy, the fear of starvation is what motivates you to work a job like this. And in that job, your boss, okay, the capital owner, will take your surplus labor value. You are always, by design, automatically going to be paid less than what you bring to the table. That is called profits. This is exactly how this works. This is exactly how exploitation works. You can make it seem as though it's totally different, but as long as you advocate for profits, that are not democratically assigned by the entire workforce, that like you are talking about like literally just taking people's surplus labor value and pocketing it for your shareholders, that in and of itself is theft in a Marxian sense. That in and of itself is exploitation in the Marxian sense, which is theft.
The rich got rich by exploiting the worker. For Marx, there's no other possible explanation. For many today, there is no other possible explanation.
That is quite literally how that works, okay? That is quite literally how that works. I don't know why you can say that that's not how that works. You just own it. The thing about capitalists is that they want to have their cake and eat it too. They want to both simultaneously uphold a system that is quite literally built around commodity production and the extraction of surplus labor value in the form of profits, and then and continuing to accumulate more and more wealth by doing so, and creating a system, designing a system that basically normalizes this, okay? And it has done it very successfully. And also forcing people into this kind of service, specifically with the threat of poverty at the other side if they do not become servile little workers. Just own it. If you actually were to put a fucking name and association to like the human beings at the factory, at the widget factory in your econ textbooks, your entire perspective would be a lot different about micro and macroeconomic principles. That's it. The only difference, there's a very specific reason why they don't do that, because then you'd be like, well, what the fuck? That's actually pretty fucked up. Like, I don't understand. That doesn't seem great, actually. That like I am the fucking little worker at the widget factory who's going to be laid off. And that is the reality, which is precisely why they try to mask it and turn around and be like, oh, well, it's not like that. These people wanted to do it. They wanted to fucking clean the toilets, and that they knew the boss was going to take some of their surplus labor value. Like, that's just Marx's analysis is just 100% fundamentally correct in that regard. It's just correct. The only difference is like he's not mixing words, I guess. His analysis of the extraction of surplus labor value is correct. You call it profits, and you think that that's a good thing. That's the main difference.
Philosophical justification for their anger, even their rage. From generation to generation, the formula never varies. Only by bringing the privileged down can the underprivileged be brought up. The venom that pours out of Marx's pen stems ultimately from the fact that reality wouldn't conform to his worldview. It never seems to have occurred to him that people are complex beings with different talents, ambitions, and desires.
Wait, what the fuck do you mean? He literally accounted for that by saying you should be able to, by way of collective action and potentially by bringing about like a socialist organization or allowing a socialist organization of the economy to occur, expand on your own personal desires that are unique to you. And focus on your talents, your ambitions, instead of being just a fucking dude that has to toil the land like a serf. You already admitted to that consideration earlier when you were talking about like, oh, they can actually do, people can do whatever the fuck they want to. Like you personally admitted to that. This is such a weird fucking take because like it's the same energy as like, well, poor people just chose to be poor. You know what I mean? It's always a choice. Yeah, from each according to his ability to each according to his needs is of course famously about how everyone needs to be paid the same and about how everyone needs to do the same job. That's what that is. It's about like how human beings do not have the capacity, or Marx's fundamental misunderstanding of human beings being unique. You know what I mean? That's what I took away from that, actually. Thank you.
If people wouldn't conform to his worldview voluntarily, then the state would just have to use other methods of persuasion, like murder and terror.
What? Violence is a part of every political system. Violence is, whether you like to admit it or not, regardless of how fucking humanitarian you are, just plays a fundamental role in politics. As a matter of fact, politics is all about the distribution of resources and the distribution of violence, as in who gets to do the violent behavior and get away with it. The state, for example, can do violence all the time and does it all the time. There's different kinds of violence. There's the structural violence of poverty. There's systemic violence like the white supremacist systems that we've established. And then also there is the direct action of the direct state violence, like police bashing your fucking skull in. And finally, individual acts of violence. Obviously, I'm being as reductive as possible in the situation, but individual acts of violence would be like a person hitting another person. Sometimes justifiable, sometimes unjustifiable. But the attitude that people have towards violence is completely predicated upon who has the power, who has the political capital, and of course, under capitalism, who has the capital. When people talk about the inevitability of violence, they already are recognizing the existence of violence that they're subjected to upon the working class across the board under the bourgeois dictatorship that people exist under in capitalism, in the capitalist organization of the economy. If there's a turn away from that towards a different kind of system, then yes, there is going to be inevitable violence because the bourgeois will not give up their power willingly. This guy's a true leftist because he clearly hates reading books? Yeah. In 1987 survey, nearly half of Americans surveyed believed the phrase "from each according to ability to each according to his need" came from the U.S. Constitution. Yeah. What is your political ideology? Do you think that capitalism a whole sucks, or just the USA way of capitalism, no social backbone like in the EU? No, I think capitalism across the board, whether it is in the EU or just a global capitalist order, is just bad. It is bad for the overwhelming majority of people. It is bad for nearly every single person living in the third world. It is certainly less bad for people who are living in the imperial core, but still bad across the board. Even if they are part of the labor aristocracy, they still very much get owned into oblivion by the very same masters of capital that are running the entire operation. Then go to Russia. Yes, I should leave the United States of America to go to a country that is also run by oligarchs that were the nicest to our oligarchs at the time of the destruction of the USSR. That's the country I should go to. Another kleptocratic, oligarch-run economy. Yeah, Russia, famously socialist. So when he says people are met with like violence or whatever when they're unable to change, he's not talking about the fucking working class. Even in the most like charitable interpretation of what the PragerU guy is trying to fucking say, all I will simply state is this: if you are living under the oppressive thumb of a bourgeois capitalist-backed government that is subjecting you to untold amounts of violence, as it purposely has designed itself to ensure that you work meaningless jobs and toil away for the rest of your life like a good little servile pig. And anytime you try to fucking change that, it's considered, that's self-defense. That's the way to analyze it. Now, of course, there is no working class militancy in this country because capital has won and labor has lost. That's it. There is no working class militancy. There's no labor militancy in this country. There's no working class organizing in this country. Now, that can change. You're literally blaming free trade and economy? Fat Pig Jim? Hell yeah, I am. Free trade. Yeah, totally.
What is astonishing is that millions came to believe him. What is tragic is that millions more suffered and died because they did. What is scary is that millions continue to believe.
I love that, dude. Yeah, that's the scary part, dude. Murder. The murder and terror that is baked into and normalized in every facet of capitalist existence is completely overlooked in this subject matter. Obviously, that's just, they deserved it. They had it coming. That's right. Sorry, you shouldn't have been a fucking developing nation with robust natural resources. Have you thought about that, African nations? Have you thought about not being a fucking, not being a country that has minerals that we need? Sorry. We're gonna have to free trade your ass, and we're gonna have to free trade your ass super fucking hard. We're gonna do economic imperialism once we're done with the fucking colonial violence that we subjected you to. Sorry, that's just how it is. This is like the S tier Red Scare propaganda, Lamau. I mean, it's not though, because it's so stupid across the board. It's just not good. It's easily dismissible. Reading the comments. I love watching videos like this every so often so I can get a constant reminder of how stupid capitalists are, especially Republicans, lol. Okay, that's one of you motherfuckers that wrote that. Thanks for the breakdown. Damn, this guy's devaluing his students' degrees with every word. Pathetic that peddling second-grade bullshit like this isn't grounds for termination. Regretfully, when C. Bradley Thompson was naming those who brought Marx to life, he left out three very important leaders: Benito Mussolini, Adolf Hitler, and Francisco Franco. Oh, and I almost forgot Barack Obama, Hillary Clinton, George Soros, Bill Gates, Mark Zuckerberg, Jeff Bezos, Nancy Pelosi, and a few more. Wait, hold on. Is he saying all those people are socialists? What? Communism failed to provide incentives for workers and citizens to work hard and be productive. While there are many benefits from equality, if pushed to an extreme, it robs people of an incentive to make an effort. Also, a big problem with communism is the enormous centralization of power, and if that power turns corrupt, is GG. Yeah, good luck. Good thing that here in capitalism, we don't have a centralization of power, and that centralization of power is not corrupt. Oh, wait, it actually is. There is a centralization of power, and it's completely fucking corrupt with no actual checks or balances. Not only that, but also we literally have normalized that corruption. The most beautiful part about Western capitalist agitprop that has created this fucking dogmatic attitude towards capitalism's existence that consistently needs to be re-upped, that consistently needs to be defended, is the notion that corporations are undemocratic by design. It is an authoritarian power structure. It's where you spend 80% of your fucking adult lives, and you don't even expect it to be fucking democratic. As a matter of fact, you push back against like even a semblance of power in the form of organizing in the workplace. And that's fucking so incredibly successful propaganda right there, dude. You literally, it's the same attitude as like, Eastern nations, the barbarians, the awful fucking corrupt Eastern nations, the from an Orientalist lens, actually do bribery. What do we have here in the Western world? Well, we have lobbying. We have corporate lobbying. We have the revolving door. These are all completely understandable and completely normal things that a government could do. It's very different than bribery. Bribery is bad. Bribery is wrong and immoral, which I agree with. Except when you codify it, except when you basically make it legal in the form of lobbying. Remember that. The same shit. Corporations are designed quite literally in a way that is authoritarian, undemocratic. You can't fucking not go to work. You can barely not go to work if you're sick. Meanwhile, you're like defending that attitude because you have no fucking self-respect. You have nothing. Not only do you have no self-respect, but you have also lost the will to fight. And I don't blame you for it because you don't understand. You can't even see a world in which you have a mechanism to fight back against that structure. Okay, let's see. Understanding Marxism, from each according to his ability. I love this guy.
In a remarkably short period of time, the philosophy of Karl Marx changed the course of history. At the height of its power, half the world fell under its dominion, kept there by a combination of fear, terror, and brute force.
The fear and terror that they subjected the Nazis to is fucking terrifying.
It imploded. By all rights, this should have been the end of Marxism, but it hasn't turned out that way.
Imploded, with a little push all around the world. You know what I mean? All around the world, like in Latin American countries, it imploded when we, used the American military to train death squads to murder revolutionary groups and actually train them how to rape nuns effectively. That's real, by the way. That was pretty cool when we did that. That was pretty tight. That's just a natural process, though, It's real. Look it up. Look up the El Mozote massacre. That is, of course, when we weren't ripping through the country and stealing and extracting all their natural resources. Not even revolutionaries, non-revolutionary communists and socialists, too. Oh, yeah, of course. Even reformists got the fucking bullet. Okay, let's see what else he's got to say.
From environmentalism with its rejection of free markets to critical race theory, which sees white patriarchy as the source of all evil.
I love that, dude. Critical race theory, yeah. Dude, these are, Marxism. Marxism is teaching people that white patriarchy is the source of all evil, totally.
You'll find Marxism at its root. The leaders of Black Lives Matter, for example, openly acknowledge their devotion to Marxist ideology.
The Black Lives Matter people are like, it has to be a psyop, dude. I can't. Everything that has come out of that organization, it just comes like, maybe I'm too brain diseased, but like the BLM, the international like BLM organization, it has to be a fucking psyop. Like, there's no fucking way, dude. There's no way. There's just no way. More likely a grift. Okay, well that too, but.
We can find answers in one of Marx's most enduring epigrams. From each according to his ability, to each according to his needs. Marx was a poor economist.
Imagine being a poor economist,
but a talented journalist.
Loser, dude.
The only actual job he ever had. He knew how to turn a phrase. But what does this slogan even mean?
He knew how to turn
according
a phrase.
To what ability? According to what need?
Marx was a poster and a slob. That is for sure. I mean, he's going back to like Marx's entire worldview is designed around his envy for the wealthy. Even though like his homie was pretty fucking wealthy. I mean, literally had a factory and didn't seem. I don't know if he was like super envious of Engels. He would either be the best or worst Twitter poster. No, Marx was disgusting. Like, lived in filth, didn't take a shower, would be up for many, many hours throughout the day, and sometimes throughout the entire night, would write for like hours and hours and hours and hours, and then sleep during the day. He was crusty as fuck. That's at least what the cops said when the police were spying on him. Don't get any fucking dumbass ideas. No, you are not like Karl Marx because you also don't shower.
And who determines anyone's ability or anyone's need? Marx never bothered to answer these obvious questions. He had much bigger things on his mind, nothing less than the creation of an entirely new kind of world.
I like that. He's like, he's just basically fucking saying like, no, someone has to do that. Like it can't be up to the individual. I thought you were a fucking individualist. Like, what's up? Yo, these fucking capitalists, like they dropped the fucking pretext of like, hyping up the individual so quickly. When you are seen as like when you have an opportunity to be like, well, what about when someone else when someone is personally fucking deciding on that, you know what I mean? It's like, well, no, you can't do that. Someone has to do it. Someone has to make you work at gunpoint. Remember when the Chamber of Commerce was like looking for new ways to get people to go back to work when people were just not going back to work, and they were like, all right, we should just like literally I don't know, force people back to work at gunpoint. I remember.
Marx believed that by altering man's economic and political institutions, he could alter, or even better, rewire the human brain. He could conjure a new consciousness that would replace the old false one. This new man would be less selfish and acquisitive and more altruistic and communal. In short, he would be a superior type of man.
But we do that already. That's what's going on under capitalism. He's not wrong. Yes. Exactly. No, that's like the fact that the very notion that you think that this society is designed around greed, and the very notion that people personally fucking believe that they too are a temporarily embarrassed millionaire or billionaire rather than the abused, exploited proletariat is straight up because of that. You can talk about it like it's a fucking lobotomy or brain surgery, but yes, that is true. That is what's happening under capitalism.
Of course, this new man could only reach this goal if he wasn't preoccupied with having to earn money. According to Marx, money and the pursuit of it ruined everything. Marx hated money, maybe because he never found a way to make it.
Wait, what?
Getting rid of it was central to his worldview.
Dude, everything revolves around like individual envy, dude. That's awesome. Yeah, no, he was just like, yo, I fucking hate money, dog. This content is dope. This is fucking fire.
One's daily bread was distributed on the basis of need rather than greed, man's natural communal affections, long suppressed by his capitalist overlords, would be renewed. This is Marx channeling the 18th century French social thinker Jean-Jacques Rousseau, one of the few people Marx admired. According to Rousseau, this is what you must do if you want to create a new society. He who dares to undertake the making of a people's institutions must feel himself capable of changing human nature, of transforming each individual who by himself is a complete and solitary whole into part of a larger whole, from which the individual receives his life and his being. Understand this, and you understand not only a key feature of Marxist thought, but the dark history of the 20th century.
I mean, this isn't wrong. The current organization of the economy 100% guides all avenues of existence. Like all facets of our life is guided by the way that the society is designed to uplift and reinforce capitalist hegemonic attitudes. So yes, saying that a different organization of the economy is possible and would lead to many benefits, such as people having time to focus on themselves, people actually changing their attitude to focus more on community, that's not incorrect. And for a Republican, supposedly, or a person who is like supposedly fucking, American liberal, you know what I mean? To personally find this to be a bad take is so strange.
Marx took Rousseau literally. Human nature had to be returned to its allegedly pure, selfless state before capitalism, with its Enlightenment and Judeo-Christian values.
Okay, first and foremost, human nature is a fucking idiotic argument regardless. It's a fallacy. Our entire existence is built upon overcoming nature, so that's really dumb. Secondly, before capitalism and its enlightenment of Judeo-Christian values, what the fuck do you mean? Even Judeo-Christian values predate fucking capitalism, okay? And we're not as such. This idea that like fucking Jesus Christ was a capitalist is a silly one. But also, primitive accumulation, primitive communism is a much longer period of mankind's existence where there was no such profit incentive. And that's simply what Marx is mentioning when he talks about like a different organization of economy is possible. And even if you were to claim that like nature plays a role in this, even from a natural perspective, we have lived as hunter-gatherers, and we have lived in primitive communist organizations for much, much longer than we have as a capitalist society.
But creating this new man would be a formidable task. Marx anticipated that many would object, especially the owners and managers.
Yeah, I wonder why. I wonder why they would fucking object. By the way, this is so funny, the way that they're like showing the owners and managers, like they're doing like unironic anti-capitalist agitprop by doing this. I think it's pretty funny to do so.
Friendly persuasion wasn't going to get the job done.
I mean, it's true. It hasn't, and it failed. And it's not like the fucking capital owners engage in friendly persuasion. Friendly persuasion is just icing on the fucking cake on top of many different methods of control. So what the fuck does he mean, friendly persuasion? It's not friendly persuasion when the police force is used to destroy fucking striking workers, okay? To fuck over the picket line. It's not friendly persuasion when Amazon changes the fucking red light outside of the Bessemer facility because they realized that like organizers were standing outside of that red light and actually were able to talk to the workers that are leaving the factory without having overseers overlooking them. That's not friendly persuasion. Friendly persuasion isn't when Coca-Cola uses death squads to murder Colombian labor organizers. That's not friendly persuasion, motherfucker. What do you mean? Yeah, friendly persuasion is when healthcare is tied to your fucking job. One of the most interesting parts about, being anti-capitalist in the United States of America is that, like, America is in the final stage of, like, capitalist exploitation, but also in the final stage of capitalist commodity fetishization as well. So in a weird way, it's harder to bring about like any kind of class solidarity amongst the working class because we're too consumed and we're too consumed with our own personal base desires that are being like functionally fulfilled, and food prices are stable across the board, so like those needs are somehow relatively met, and like the poor are pushed away, and you can actually use them as a fucking example of what will happen to you if you don't actually work super hard. But also at the same time, there are so many aspects of our existence that is so inhumane and so fucking cruel that it does have a radicalizing effect. The way to recognize and to be able to radicalize people and do agitprop is also relatively easy in America because, like, I think in many ways it's like harder for people to recognize that they're being fucked over if they have some of their needs met. Because, like, social democracies have given, welfare states have given new breathing light into capitalist organizations of the economy. They've actually they've stopped the inevitable contradictions from playing itself in the way that it normally would, which is what makes it even harder. I'm not an accelerationist by any means or anything like that, but obviously that is part of the reason why it is really difficult to radicalize and push for even further change in countries like that.
Private property, wage labor, competition and profits, these would have to go. The state, now run by the workers themselves, the dictatorship of the proletariat, as Marx called it, would control production and pricing. It would wisely manage the economy.
Yeah, dude, totally. Because we don't have any sort of centralization right now under the capitalist economy. There's no centralization. Subsidies, for example, or I don't know, any kind of like federal control, federal regulation that comes with no additional fucking scrutiny even. Like, for example, when a company knows full well that they'll get bailed out in times of need by the taxpayers so they can fucking engage in stock buybacks instead of, like, I don't know, and continue to eliminate redundancies because they know that, like, the government will fucking protect them no matter what happens. That sort of understanding is really cool. I love that. I love when capitalists are like, yeah, dude, it's wonderful that we have a totally capitalist economic organization with no centralized control. The only difference right now is that, like, you're paying for it. You're actually working in the fucking fields, and then your surplus labor value is being taken from you, and then those people are fucking literally feeding back into the machine to ensure that there is more corporate welfare and that you can't get any of that because that would be considered a moral hazard, okay? And then those very same capitalists that are taking your surplus labor value are able to design the system in a way that suits them, it suits their needs, and they do personally benefit from a centralized economy.
From each according to his ability, to each according to his needs. And imagine how wonderful it would be. No more ego, no more self-interest. Instead, everybody working for the benefit of everybody else. Peace, love, and harmony. For many, it's a very seductive idea. Who wouldn't aspire to live in such a world? Look around, a Marxist might say. The powerful exploit the weak, crushing the majority's noble aspirations. Your aspirations, just so they can have more. It's unfair and unjust. How much better if we just start over? Start clean. That's the Marxist socialist dream.
Wait, this doesn't sound bad. What's going on?
In real life, it's a nightmare.
Oh, never mind. I love that he was like, all the things that could be good, actually, well, they're bad. You know what I mean? He was like, yeah. Hey, you want all those good things? Well, guess what, dude? All those good things would actually be bad. And then like fucking guitar, like a guitar riff in the background. Ha ha! Got you, dude. You fucking got no response, bitch. I'm a capitalist now.
Become demands, and demands become rights. The best are mocked, and the worst exalted. Innovation withers, while the government grows ever larger. Eventually, the productive become virtual slaves to the unproductive, and the society collapses economically, intellectually, and morally.
The productive become the unproductive, dude. The productive become virtual slaves to
unproductive.
the unproductive. Yeah. Under a socialist order of the economy, we are going to take the fucking business owners and subjugate them. We are going to ensure that these capitalist pig dogs living up atop their ivory mountaintops. I'm fucking up. I don't know what I would say there. Whatever. And there we're going to turn them into servile dogs for our desires. Their
And the
ivory
society
towers.
collapses economically, intellectually, and morally. And then the real horror starts. If you think I'm exaggerating, just ask someone who fled the Soviet Union or Cuba or Venezuela.
Dude, oh, come on, dude. We got to run that. Even Murad is chiming in from the background. He said Venezuela before he said it. Here, this.
Here is the actual distribution of
He did
wealth.
this, dude. This video is just this.
Poorest Americans don't even register. They're down to pocket change.
Venezuela.
Start a small business instead. That's true. This is literally fucking true, dude. I love that because like that video so succinctly it describes exactly what this fucking nerd is trying to explain. You know what I mean? Understanding Marxism changed the world. Okay, this is when it's going to be good.
Engraved on Karl Marx's tombstone in Highgate Cemetery in North London are the following words. The philosophers have only interpreted the world in various ways. The point, however, is to change it. Substitute the word professor for the word philosopher. We really don't have philosophers anymore, and you get right to the core of Marx's enduring attraction to the contemporary world. Marx demands that the intellectual class, the professors of law, sociology, history, women's studies, anthropology, journalism, and so on, come out of the ivory tower and join the barricades, to see themselves not as the preservers of the dusty past, but the creators of a new and glorious future. The lure has proven to be very strong, and it's not hard to understand why. How much more meaningful, exciting, and romantic to see yourself as an agent of change rather than a mere academic. How much more meaningful, exciting, and romantic to see the young people who fill up your classroom as potential soldiers in the cause. Send them into the world with the same revolutionary spirit, the same disgust toward bourgeois middle-class values that you feel, and you've done your job. And we must give these lecture hall revolutionaries their due. Look around.
It's always so funny because it's like, dude, you're a college professor. Like, what the fuck do you mean? It's only good if you're a college professor that's like upholding the very same systems. You know what I mean? You're literally a college professor at Clemson, dog. What the fuck are you talking about? He's like, yeah, but it's okay. It's okay when I am using my position as an educator to like misguide you. I love doing that, but also in the opposite direction at a fucking fake university that's not a real university, that is actually only alive as a consequence of oil barons funding it, okay? Not for any other reason, but like oil barons are giving me money currently so I can just fucking lie to people. That's the appropriate way to do it.
Leftist movement, environmentalism, critical race theory, the massive expansion of the welfare state, not to mention diversity, equity, and inclusion offices at every university and major corporation, and you will find Marxism at its core. A contempt of the Enlightenment and the Judeo-Christian value system from which capitalism springs. Marx's most famous call to action, workers of the world unite, was not, of course, to the professoriate, but to the laboring class. That didn't work out so well.
By the way, like, I know that people are people get annoyed with like fucking PhDs and shit, but like, I mean, you're still an exploited worker as a PhD by these like neoliberal institutions that are like ass fucking you. You know what I mean? So I don't know why there's this attitude there. It's like, for a guy who supposedly knows a lot about Marx, it's kind of weird that like he's just automatically like, no, if you're an educator, actually you're literally not an educator or a researcher. Sometimes both, right? As a PhD, you're not a worker. You're just not. You're an elitist. So have fun getting paid literally nothing.
Workers, especially in the United States, turned out to be more interested in refrigerators than revolutions. The only barricade they were passionate about was a white picket fence in front of a green suburban lawn. Poor, benighted souls, the appeal of Marxism was somehow lost on them. Maybe because they didn't go to college. But the intellectual class...
No, it actually has nothing to do with college and everything to do with like the purposeful dismantling of labor organizing and labor unions as the American bourgeois capitalist government has completely robbed the working class of any fucking spark of action, any hope for change. That's it. Labor aristocracy equals global proletariat. I mean, even the labor aristocracy is fucked over in the United States of America.
Even after Stalin, even after Mao, even after Castro wrecked Cuba, even after Pol Pot murdered millions of his fellow Cambodians, even after Hugo Chavez destroyed the strongest economy in South America, the academic elite...
Yeah, famously, dude, Chavez totally destroyed it. I love, like, doing multiple coup attempts and basically a successful, well, technically unsuccessful business plot on a country with like robust natural resources that are like literally a necessity for, you know, the current global economy's survival, and then dismantling it by one, sanctioning everything, okay, for the crime of nationalization, a liberty afforded only to countries like Norway. That he really fucking destroyed it, dude. Chavez really fucked it all up, huh? It was so bad. Was literally Venezuela was the strongest economy in South America. I mean, it was under Chavez's reign as well, until, you know, the numerous attempts internally, backed by the CIA and the American State Department, got enough of the, especially the food production industry, to support any fucking attempt of diversifying their economy. That paired up with sanctions, destroyed their economy.
Indeed, in a world without faith, where God is dead, Marxism has become, in effect, a substitute religion.
As opposed to the good religion, the Judeo-Christian values, the capitalist Judeo-Christian values that I am telling you.
In our secular world, the Marxist ideal gives the Marxist true believer a reason to live, a reason to die, and a reason to kill. Monsters like Lenin, Stalin, Mao, Kim Il-sung, Ho Chi Minh, and Pol Pot.
Monsters like a Ho Chi Minh. He said monsters like Lenin. Monsters like a Ho Chi Minh. Also Pol Pot, like, you know, kind of aligned with a Henry Kissinger more than anything else. You know what I mean?
For the record, the latter two were politically educated in France. Pol Pot studied at the Sorbonne.
Wait, what the fuck? Like, virtually all of these leaders have fucking studied in Western institutions. What the fuck?
But your new democratic socialism will get it right. Think again. Marxism leads a society toward a fixed goal, a utopian vision of pure freedom in which the individual is liberated from the false consciousness of capitalism. Unfortunately, by Marx's own definition, the path to this utopia requires the destruction, economically, politically, and morally, of every vestige of civilization as we know it. Economically, Marxism seeks to destroy free enterprise, the division of labor, profit and loss, competition.
Why would Marxism seek to destroy the division of labor? Sure, okay, maybe free enterprise, but like, why would... I mean, I don't know what he means by all of this, okay? But profit and loss, like, so how do you destroy loss? Let's say you destroyed profit, but how do you destroy loss?